really quickly, just smell those roots. They smell so good. I was about to do your intro then. Oh, let me grab me coffee.
Got me tea here too.
Chin chin. Chin chin? Chin. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Right, so what are we doing today, Emma?
Well, Claire, we're probably putting lots of things in semi-hydro.
We are indeed. We've got some new plants that you haven't seen yet.
In her collection. You might have seen them in mine.
Oh yeah, actually yes, you might have done. Emma has brought me some plants very kindly from her collection today. And then we've just got a couple of like little rehabby things to do that is quite exciting. We're going to chat a little bit about semi-hydro, answer some questions that you've sent in, and that is about it. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Joli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learned over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And yeah, that is the plan for today's video. So grab a beverage.
Beveragino. Or some repotting for yourself.
Yeah, join us. We hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. Right, so I'm going to show a couple of the plants. Oh, one you can actually see that I've just got from Emma, and this is one that you've had in your collection for how long?
Probably like 6 or 8 months. I've had it for a while. It came big, but it has grown in, I think, at least 3 or 4 leaves since I got it.
Beautiful.
And I just don't love it anymore. So I thought Claire could love it.
It is gorgeous. It's an Anthurium doriaci. And yeah, I admired this one last time I was at your house on your bedside table, wasn't it? And I just think it's the most beautiful Anthurium.
I think it's really beautiful too, and I really like it. I don't care about it enough for me to care about it. Yeah. That sounds really bad.
No, it doesn't at all. I think that makes perfect sense. Like sometimes you've got plants and you're like, I like them, but they're not like
I would just rather it be somewhere that, like, with someone who really, really wants to take care of it instead of just slowly dying. It's not dying at all, but...
I know it's one that a lot of people hybridize. Like, I'm pretty sure my not very happy looking silver blush in there, I'm pretty sure that's a doriaci hybrid.
I think I've had a doriaci silver blush hybrid. Is that one from me?
Lost track, maybe.
Quite possibly. I feel like I give Claire so many plants at this point.
It could be. It could well be.
It very well might be.
I mean, I've had it for a while. It's just it's changed forms and just there and there. As I say, it doesn't look good at the moment. But yeah, this one Emma's been growing completely in moss at the moment, and so we're going to get this one into semi-hydro. I've had quite a lot of luck with anthuriums and semi-hydro recently. I was going to say, you're the one that got me into semi-hydro, really. Emma's responsible for all this.
I was banging on about it for years, and then like Claire was just like, oh, I don't know.
Well, I tried it at first and I just didn't get on with it. And when we say semi-hydro, we mean the Lechusapon, either Lechusapon itself or Lechusapon equivalents.
Yeah.
That's what I
Soil Ninja does one, which I think this is the Soil Ninja's fine semi-hydro. It comes in 2 thicknesses. Some are big rocks, some are little rocks.
I was going to say, I've got their coarse stuff as well, and I do really like it.
Yeah. Coarse would actually be really good for that one if you fancy pulling it out. I put all of my anthuriums, because they've got thicker, chunkier roots in the coarse stuff, because they like to have more air gaps.
Yeah, you're totally right. I don't think I've got any more coarse stuff, but I have got some lacquer that we can mix in with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that will just, lacquer's just clay pebbles, and it will just help to...
Whereas like
increase the aeration a little
things like this one, where the roots are so fine. This is another one that I brought, but for Ross, because I know this isn't Claire's cup of tea. But the roots are so fine on this. This is a purple passion plant. They don't need as much space between.
Yeah.
And so the smaller stuff is actually better for things like this, and I feel like alocasias, marantas, things with the finer, tinier roots.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Also, sorry, there's like sulfur spots on all of these.
Yeah, it's how, like what it said. The sulfur treatment, just like gets it up to see this. What the sulfur treatment you've done on all of your plants. I'm sure a lot of you have watched Emma's journey with the sulfur treatment. But
yeah, so basically, it's a treatment that I found when doing research about flat mites. because I started finding flat mites in my collection. Specifically, they were mostly on Hoyas, but one of my anthuriums, my Warwickwianum, had them on it as well.
Oh god.
And that was inside of my IKEA cabinet, my Millspo, so I was like, well, probably everything in here has them.
Yeah.
And so when I was looking up treatments, I stumbled upon the sulfur treatment, because the other option is like dipping them in like hot water for a long time, and so many people said their Hoyas were melting when that happened.
I haven't even heard of that.
I did a whole bunch of research ages ago. Yeah, it's really well rooted, that one.
It's amazingly rooted.
And so I've been doing sulfur treatments, and from the package of the sulfur thing, it's also used to treat spider mites and thrips on some plants. So I was like, well, if it does all of them...
Well, I was going to say, is it kind of like diatomaceous earth?
I don't know. It's technically sulfur fungicide. So it prevents funguses growing on your plants, but it also kills pests. And I know it's probably not the best thing out there, and I'm sure it would probably kill predatory mites if you were using them. Yeah. But I've taken a pause on predatory mites. I paused my subscription to those purely to be treating my entire collection.
Oh, that's so interesting. I'm really intrigued to know how you get on with it.
Yeah.
I know it's been
It's still new.
Yeah, but I mean, like, trial and error. Like, it's something I've never tried doing that, so I'd be very interested to know how you get on.
Yeah, I mean, I will be sharing it once I feel like I know whether or not it works. Yeah. I'll talk about that. But for right now, I'm going through it and treating every single one of my plants. I should also say, what I'm doing is I'm adding this one that was Ross's Purple Passion to my Purple Passion, and we're going to put them both in semi-hydro because they're full one. So finicky, these ones.
Oh my goodness, they also just, like, anytime they don't have water for a second, they are dramatic as anything, aren't they? They are like, oh my goodness, and they throw a tantrum and then they flop over and they're like, they're gonna die.
I feel like that's my main reason for putting things in semi-hydro is when plants are super duper sensitive like that. I can't be bothered.
And you know about it immediately, and all you need to do is fill the reservoir. Yeah. It's also, really quickly, just smell those roots. They smell so good.
They're like very healthy.
Oh my god, that just smells amazing.
They kind of smell like a forest in a good way.
Yeah, like when you go outside.
Like on the walk we went on.
Yeah, oh my goodness. So, Emma took me on a run today. I don't typically run, but we run. Yeah, no, I know, you've got really into fitness and I'm so proud of you. But I'm not particularly a runner. We ran 2k?
Yeah, 2 kilometers.
Yay!
And most of that was like a general incline as well, because we were going up a track that was quite uphill. So I think that is pretty freaking amazing for like a first run. Yeah,
and we discovered a really nice new walk at the end of it as well. We ended up, we were out for a while.
Yeah, so we ran for probably about 15 minutes. Yes, because if we were running 7-minute kilometers, and we did 2 kilometers, so it's about 15 minutes. And then we walked for quite a long time after that.
Yeah, like another
45 minutes.
Yeah, needless to say, Joli is absolutely white.
Yeah, fully
if
sleeping.
I can turn the camera, because she looks adorable. Excuse all the mess. I don't know if she's in shot there. I'm assuming she probably is. But bless her heart, she is knackered now. Oh, I've done it badly, haven't I? There we go. There we go. Yeah,
that
looks good.
But anyways, I need to wash these roots now. That was like really fast to get the soil off.
I was going to say, in terms of semi-hydro transfer, so what we're both doing, because both of these are currently being grown in organic matter. So this one's obviously been in moss, that one's been in a soil mix. And when you are transferring things into, in our case, pon or the Lechuza pon,
which is a non-organic substrate, it's rocks.
Yeah, it's really important to try. You don't have to get all of it off, but try and get as much of the previous organic matter off the roots, just because if you don't do that, it can make them much more prone to rotting. And obviously with lovely healthy roots like these, we do not want that to happen.
Yeah. I feel like those roots are much less likely to end up rotting than these sort of spindly tiny little things.
Yeah.
These could just disintegrate.
Yeah, I know.
I don't think they will. And I'd say keep it in a slightly drier, like don't go hard on the reservoir too early with this one, because it is quite common for them to completely change their root system.
I was gonna say they do. I've noticed that, like, physically by looking at roots, sometimes they like my alocasias that I transferred over to pon, their root systems have become so much more spindly, and like they wrap around every single little bit of the pon, whereas before in soil they weren't as full, they didn't really spread as much.
Yeah, it's like it's a very different way of growing, and like there's benefits for each, and so I think it's good to experiment with both, and I'm really glad you've had much more success with semi-hydro in recent years, months, this year. It's pretty much this year.
Pretty much since I've lived here, because I changed up a lot of my collection when I first moved here, because obviously environments were so different.
Yeah.
And that's when I've come back around to semi-hydro, and it's just been working so well for me. And I know like a lot of you have said like, it's like, please can you walk us through the process? Can you answer all these questions on it? And it really is very straightforward. I feel like maybe there's, I don't know, maybe I'm not always the best at explaining it, but I feel like...
I've got a couple of videos if people want.
Emma's got some videos on it. I'll link Emma's videos on it down below as well. But it is just a much more straightforward process than perhaps sometimes the internet would lead you to believe. It's basically just the case of transferring clean, healthy roots. If you've got any root issues, then obviously look at those first before putting them into another substrate. But putting things into a environment where they will essentially just be able to absorb moisture from what is absorbed by the pond. So you create a little reservoir at the bottom of the pot. We'll show you as we go through it, but it's very, very easy to do. And I don't know why I didn't get on with it when I first tried it. I think maybe there's quite a lot maybe that I didn't do right. I think maybe I just didn't get all the soil off. I think maybe I didn't fill the reservoirs enough, or I filled them too much.
It is a bit of a balance, and that's why I typically recommend using self-watering pots.
See, I never use self-watering pots.
I do a bit of both. If I can use a self-watering pot, I will, because I find it's much easier. Typically in self-watering pots, they've got some sort of wick, or the semi-hydro material itself. If we're going to go into like the science of it, they're mostly volcanic rocks, and one of the things about volcanic rocks is that they're very porous. They've got lots of air gaps in them, and so that will wick up and absorb the moisture. So from the reservoir, if any of the rocks are in it, it'll start pulling that water up, whether it's got a wick or not. Yeah. And slowly, if you've got dry pond and a little bit of puddle at the bottom, it'll slowly draw that up. Yeah. Throughout, and give the roots a chance to take what they want while still giving them a good combination of air between the stones. And so that's why it's a really good balance, because it gives you the right ratio of air and oxygen that your roots do need to live. That's why root rot causes rot, because there's not enough oxygen, while still allowing them to take what water they want. So that was very technical of me, sorry.
No, I think that was a very, very good explanation. Thank you, Emma.
You're welcome.
But no, I mean, as Emma just said, like for that reason, it's much harder for your plants to get root rot in this kind of environment, because the aeration typically is like pumice, lava rock. They do the porousness of them means that typically the roots aren't going to be as compact. They are going to be able to absorb oxygen better, and they are going to be less likely to rot. So for lots of plants that like being kind of consistently moist, so alocasia, calathea, but sometimes people struggle to find that balance between consistently moist and saturated and soggy.
I find that hard in soil. I find it really, really difficult.
Those are typically plants that will do amazingly in pond, because they can just draw out the water they need without having to be overwhelmed by it. Yeah. So yeah, step one, bare root your plants. Emma's done a beautiful job of washing those roots. Oh. As you can see, pretty much all, like 99% of the soil's gone. There's only a tiny bit left.
It's okay to have a little bit in there. Yeah. You're never going to get them, especially with roots this fine, you're never going to get them 100% clean. No. And especially if you've had it in sphagnum moss.
I was going to say, after this, I'm going to try and get as much off as I can, but I'm not going to even bother washing these roots, just because washing them is not going to make moss come off anymore, I don't think. I'm just going to try and get... Really? I feel like the moss that's left here is just kind of clinging to the roots.
Yeah, well, you use water to let it cling less.
Do you reckon? I never tend to...
I wash everything.
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a scaredy cat. I'm like, I'll just do it, because then I know I've done it, and then it'll be hopefully better.
Okay, well, I feel like if I don't do it now, I'm going to jinx myself. I wouldn't usually, but I'm gonna do it your way today. I'm gonna.
You don't have to. This is your video. Do what you want.
If anything goes wrong now, I'm gonna kick myself. And things have gone wrong with my plants quite recently, so I'm gonna listen
One's
to you.
in pawn as well.
Yeah, I know.
And Thurium's in pawn as well.
I know.
Also, what pot did you want me to put these in?
Yeah,
that's perfect. And I'll put clay pebbles in the bottom.
Yeah.
In the bottom. Because the holes in the bottom of the pot, drainage holes, are quite helpful and important, more so in soil things than in semi-hydro. But you don't want the pond falling out the holes.
No. In fact, oh, I don't know where they are. Maybe for another plant. I've got and I said this in a video the other day, but I've started hanging on to old candle jars and stuff like that, and then melting them down and getting rid of the wax. And those glass jars, I know, I think it's Unplant Parenthood. She grows all of her plants in...
Not all, but a lot.
Or a lot of her plants in just like glass containers in semi-hydro.
In no drainage, basically.
Yeah, and I do that with plastic, I mean, similar to this, like plastic cups and stuff like that, but they actually look quite nice when you've got glass containers. So
I recently went to a charity shop and found a jar specifically to take a plant that I had in a plastic cup in no drainage with semi-hydro and put it in a glass with semi-hydro no drainage, because I think it looks so much nicer than the plastic ones.
It does, doesn't it?
And it's probably better because I feel like keeping things in plastic long term probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've never experienced any issues from that, but they always say, like, don't drink from a water bottle that's...
I told you that.
Yeah, I know, because I was drinking out the same water bottle for like 6 months, and everyone was like...
It was like an old smart water bottle, like that wasn't meant to be a reusable water bottle.
I just thought it was reusable. I had no idea. Yeah, thanks, Emma.
You're welcome. I just didn't want you to get like BPA poisoning or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that.
I think I read about this, or maybe I saw TikTok or something, but it was about like water bottle culture. Because in the States, there's a huge water bottle culture.
What does that mean?
Like a reusable water bottle culture.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I think that's a very good thing.
Yeah, and like in the UK, it's not nearly as big. But like, if you didn't have a reusable water bottle in the States, like at my uni, you were like frowned upon. It was like...
Oh, really? Oh, well, I mean, that's really good that it's like that. I mean,
but we also don't drink tap water, so...
Do you not in the States? I didn't know that.
A lot of it's not safe to drink, but like really minerally and processed and stuff.
Oh, I see.
We've got a lot of fluoride though, that's why our teeth are so good.
Oh, I see. So those are the roots. They are beautiful.
Those are stunning roots.
Aren't they gorgeous? And as I say, I wouldn't usually, but I'm gonna now. I'm gonna just give them, also all of this moss can absolutely be reused because it looks perfect. I'm gonna just give these a little rinse off.
It'll be worth it, I promise.
I'm sure it will. Thank you, Emma.
You're welcome. Just forcing Claire into good habits slowly. I feel like this one almost needs a tall pot.
I don't know if I've got another tower pot.
I mean, it'll be fine.
I know what you mean though. I mean, it can trail.
I just feel like it's very...
Yeah.
Like...
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And especially with a semi-hydro, because this stuff's dry right now, it's not very heavy. So they're much more prone to... Or a steak. Either way. Those are your two options.
I have a steak right here.
Well, there you go. That's probably not the best thing in the world for going in semi-hydro, but thanks!
So with this one, it's got quite a few aerial roots coming out at the top. Just there. So I think what I'm probably going to do is fill the pond to about there and then maybe wrap some sphagnum moss around the top there. I mean, I would...
You don't even need to wrap sphagnum moss around.
I don't have to, but look at them all. I feel like it would benefit from it.
Well, they'll eventually grow down into the semi-hydro.
Yeah, I mean, I was, a few people I was chatting to at the plant spot were like, you should absolutely plant them lower.
Oh yeah, you could plant that all the way to there.
Yeah. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll do
Instead
that.
of doing the sphagnum moss add-on, just pot it lower.
I know.
I know you're scared about doing that.
I did that with my Anthurium veitchii quite recently, and it all went very wrong very quickly, and I'm a little bit nervous about that now.
Rightly so. That is fair, but I think that was special circumstances in which it was an imported plant, and like you don't have as much control over imported plants as you do ones that have been acclimated to this world.
To this world.
To the UK world. There we go. Ross will love that.
You know what, he really will. I think that looks cool. I think
You're welcome, Ross. Oh, I got dirt in my tea.
So good for you.
Proceeds to drink it immediately.
I'm trying to think.
You need to wash that before
I'm just thinking size-wise.
That should be fine. You could even use this again, but if you want it clear.
I personally prefer using a clear pot when I'm using semi-hydros so I can monitor the roots.
It is better like that. As long as you washed it, it would be fine.
Also, a benefit of using semi-hydro is that you're far less prone to soil pests such as fungus gnats.
Do you want me to go outside and do that?
Maybe actually, because I was going to say, I don't know how well you can tell on camera, but I got this beautiful...
They're everywhere, oh my god.
Hoya, yeah, I'll show you the Hoya properly in a minute. This is a Hoya calamantan, and it arrived the other day, but it is absolutely infested with fungus gnats. I don't know if you can see them all flying around in the bag there. But yeah, so this is going to be a complete soil change, and depending on the root system, potentially a transfer to semi-hydro as well. There's loads.
There's so many.
I know.
I'm happy to go do it outside.
It's up to you. If you don't mind, then you'll be my guest. But
I really don't.
Thanks, Emma. Yeah, it might not be up to your standards, but
You can go do this outside, and I'm gonna wash your pot properly. So, in my opinion.
Okay.
In my opinion. So, this is what the pot is looking like. I feel like all of those bits of dirt around there. You know how we washed the roots off?
I wouldn't usually do that anyway.
You want to wash the pot off. You don't want the organic matter in there.
Oh, I know.
I feel like this is the littlest thing you can...
Okay, go on then. Go on then. I'll empty this. I'll empty this and you do that. Oh my god. I've got an Anthurium clarinervium that's been out here for ages and I forgot about it. It's got a little leaf.
Oh, at least it's growing.
It's got the tiniest amount of root. So this is the tiny root system that this Hoya's currently got. Me and Emma were just debating whether or not putting it in semi-hydro is actually going to be the best thing, but I was just saying I've had quite a lot of luck propagating Hoya in semi-hydro, so I'm just going to give these roots a wash off and then probably pot it with a very shallow reservoir. It's what my gut's saying.
I don't know if you'll be able to hear this over the water, but look how much cleaner that is now.
So much better.
This is what I mean. It needs to be clean. It doesn't need to. I was saying to Claire that I'm of the mindset where I'd rather do a small thing now in order to not have problems later.
And you know what? That is the way to be. That is 100% the way to be.
Otherwise I'll get stressed.
I should be promoting that more on my channel. I am just a bit of a lazy plant parent.
I am too, but I'm lazy for future me.
Yeah, I need to be a bit more like you in that sense, because I am not like that. But yeah, you're more than welcome to put some if you would like.
What kind of pots do you want me to put in?
I was going to say, now that it's hit, like, have a look at it. It's so
pretty.
Pretty. Yeah, I really wanted, I actually went on, so I got that on Etsy, and I really wanted a Hoya calistophylla. I've wanted a calistophylla for ages, and I found a seller that had one for a price that I was happy with. It looked in really good condition. I ordered it, and then I also came across the calamantan when I was on there, and I had to get it. It's beautiful, and I think that cutting was a little bit rotty at the bottom.
It's just, I don't know if it's rotty or if it's just like the bark is peeling off the stem.
I think it probably is.
Like I was able to peel off all of that bit at the bottom. I like, I don't know, it just makes me nervous.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, this is the kind of stuff, like, where I would take, like, cataphiles or something off of any bit that I put underneath the semi-hydro, because you don't want the organic material.
There. It is coming off a little bit. I mean, it is still rooting out of these areas, though, and it doesn't feel rotten.
No, so, like, the core of it is not rotten. It's just that the, like, bark of it has come off. It's kind of weird.
I would say probably semi-hydro, but a shallow reservoir.
Yeah.
And basically what I mean when we say shallow reservoir, basically just so that if it's a plant that is quite prone to rotting, then it won't be absorbing too much. Like if you fill the reservoir too high, then sometimes that can mean that it just is a little bit overwhelmed and more prone to rotting.
So how much, I don't know how much you put in yours, but if it's a pot
like that.
Yeah, I was going to say to about there. Like the bottom quarter or third of the plant into water. I try not to let it empty out completely. I try. It happens sometimes. And try not to do too much, because I put a layer up to there of pure, I guess, clay pebbles and semi-hydro. So technically none of the roots are down at that level, because you don't really want a lot of the roots, at the beginning at least, to be underneath the water level.
Yeah.
Once they choose themselves to grow down into it, that's fine. But until then, it's risk of rot, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so this one will go in a little cash pot with water up to about there.
Yeah. Also, if you're in any doubt, filling the reservoir less and then just filling
less
it more
often,
is probably the way forward. I mean, I've got some that I fill them kind of. My Alocasia portadora is in pure pond, and granted it does need a pot upgrade. Its roots have spread so much, but I water that one pretty much every single day, and it just just kind of fills itself. Ooh.
I feel like this would do really well in an aeroid tower pot.
I don't know if I've got a spare one. Something like this.
You could go no drainage.
Yeah.
But personally, so she's holding up, let me have it.
Yeah.
She's holding up a little glass jar, which you totally can go no drainage in there. I think that would be a better vessel personally, this one, because if it's got a bottleneck, if you do ever want to take it out.
Typically with Hoyer's root systems, they don't spread as much.
Something like this would be better, because when you're pulling it out, it doesn't have a bottleneck to go through.
And also, like you say, using a slightly taller pot with this Hoyer, you can pot it a little bit deeper as well. So, because it can root all the way up the main stem.
But you also don't need to put any semi-hydro. So you could put semi-hydro to there.
I'm happy
or up
to
to there.
All the way up.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. But having something taller gives you more options there.
Yeah.
And because the leaves are so tall, you don't... you still will, because it just goes over the bottom, but you have to put it on some sort of shelf in order for it to... You can't just put it on the table, because it'll crinkle.
Could you possibly pass me some clay pebbles, please? To line the bottom of my pot.
Line that pot!
And we did also ask you to send in some questions. I know we haven't got around to that just yet, but let me just have a look and we can answer some of them as we pot.
As we pot.
As we pot.
Whatever, I don't know what they are.
Okay, someone says, is it sinful to purposefully not water a plant because I don't like it anymore and want it gone? Sinful?
I wouldn't say it's sinful, but I would say frowned upon.
No, I mean, it's definitely not sinful, and I think we've all done it, right?
Yeah.
No, I would say perhaps consider
rehoming it.
If it's a plant that isn't on the brink of death, maybe find it a nice new home with someone else, because chances are, if you don't love the plant, someone else is going to love it. But no judgment at all, because I've definitely done that as well.
Yeah, that feels very much like the confessions.
I was going to say, we filmed a video this morning over on Emma's channel of houseplant confessions.
Shameless plug.
But it was a lot of fun, and there were some really funny ones that came in.
Yeah.
And yeah, that one is kind of along the lines of some of them.
Very much so. I feel like that is quite common though among plant parents to...
Definitely, and like, I mean, God, if that's the word, like, we're like, oh goodness, it's awful that we do this and we don't take care of one plant or like a few plants. Like, yeah, but we do. We look after lots. It's fine.
In a collection this big. So I was saying, 'cause on my video where I talked about all my plants I've killed in the past year,
yeah,
people were like, I can't believe you killed so many. And I'm like, I'd say, like, if I killed 20 out of 200...
That's not bad at all.
That's not bad at all. Like, that, was that 10%?
And also when you're thinking about the fact that some of them are going to be plants that have like had a lot of acclimating to do, plants that are cuttings.
Yeah.
Nothing is 100% successful all the time. Things happen. Things happen.
That looks so nice in this little thing.
Looks beautiful, doesn't it? What was it? Glass containers. They look lovely.
They
and then can just fill the reservoir and monitor it very...
Probably about up to there.
I've also got lots in...
spice jars.
Spice jars. Yeah, spice jars are a winner for me. I've got this little one here that's in
a herb and spice jar. So this is, this is a good showing of the difference between the coarse and the fine Soil Ninja Semi-Hydro. This is the fine, this is the coarse.
Yeah.
Makes a difference.
Yeah.
I personally would have put this one in the fine, but it's not my plants, so that's not my problem.
What got you into the hobby of keeping plants? This is not one specific thing, I don't think. The satisfaction of keeping things alive.
Yeah.
The feeling of being able to just switch off and do something relaxing.
It's a very meditative process.
Yeah, it is. And I think I've said before in my videos, for someone like myself that's not very good at sitting down and being still and meditating, which seems to be actually quite a common thing in the plant community from some of the people that I've met, it's often very nice to have a meditative activity that is still and relaxed without having to try to be still. Like,
I don't have to think about things that are going on in my life or in the world. I can think about this task right now.
Yeah. which I think is hugely beneficial for someone somewhat mentally ill like I am.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's so important to have things like that. And yeah, plant care is self-care, kind of, in a weird way.
100%. Someone says, I overwatered my Aglaonema Silver Bay. I repotted it, but leaves are still turning yellow. Help.
Check it again.
Oh, well, I was going to say, sounds to me like even if you've overwatered it and you've repotted it, you've 100% done the right thing repotting. If the roots have started to rot, sometimes you might need to... sometimes you might need to do either a root prune, like pruning back any areas that are rotting, or you might need to do something like a hydrogen peroxide treatment just to kind of eradicate the root rot completely. Because, like, as I say, you've 100% done the right thing in repotting, but sometimes if it's in the early stages of rotting, you might not have seen the rot.
Or it might be progressing, like, in bits that wouldn't have been visible. That's kind of what you said. I just repeated that, sorry.
No, not at all. I think that's...
interrupted and then said the same thing.
No, I thought you put it very concisely. Much more concisely than I did. That's also potted, so what I'll do is I'll put that in this pot here that doesn't have drainage, and I will create a little reservoir at the bottom of that. And I think this plant is going to look beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Look at that. Oh,
that looks really nice in that pot.
That's gorgeous. Thanks, Emma.
You're welcome. I'm currently taking them off of another one.
Oh, this is another one you brought me, isn't it?
Yeah, so the funny thing is, Claire took this plant in for me originally.
I did.
It was one of my imports that came while I wasn't home, so Claire took it in for me. It is a Philodendron domesticum variegated. And I've never really been that in love with it. I'm just not a big yellow variegation gal.
I'm not on the whole either, to be honest.
And I guess this is more cream.
I was going to say it's kind of creamy variegation, and I love the lower leaves, but it's kind of...
It's gone a bit... I've not treated it very well. This is...
And then
it's a me problem.
The new shoot is very thin. And in fact, I said to you earlier, and I'm almost tempted to say do it now, is to chop it there. Thinking about it, yeah, because then you chop it just there. This section can be propagated, probably again I would say in sphagnum moss, and then this section put into semi-hydro.
You could even cut those in half. You can cut it between those two nodes and then have two.
Oh, it's not a bad shout. And then, yeah, that bit can go into semi-hydro. Yep. This little bit here, which now doesn't have any roots at all, I'm just going to let that callus, and then I will pop that into, I would say probably sphagnum moss. That tends to be my go-to propping medium for aroids.
Yeah. If that wasn't a top cut, I would say leave this to callus off as well, this bit. But because this bit's going to be over the top of any semi-hydro and not actually in contact with any moisture, I think that shouldn't be an issue at all. I'm going to rinse these roots though.
Thanks,
they got spag on them.
And this plant here is looking a little bit sad. So this is actually one of Ross's. This is one that he won in the raffle at the Scotland and Other Plants swap. And it's actually, there's a wish list plant of mine, and I know I've not pounced on it yet, but I'm looking at it now and it's not looking great. It's a Philodendron mexicanum. And I'm not quite sure whether or not this is just a watering imbalance / acclimation issue, or if perhaps there's something a little bit more sinister going on. It might be root rot related. I'm not entirely sure. So I think the best thing is, I meant to do this last week actually, and I ran out of time. So I've left it a little bit longer than ideally I would have liked to, but I'm just going to get it out and have a look at the roots. And the good thing is it has got amazing aerial roots going all the way up the main stem. So if I did need to chop back its current main root system, then I feel like I would be able to get the plant back quite easily. Ooh.
Does it smell rotty?
Doesn't smell rotty.
That looked rotten.
But it is rotten.
But it is!
Yeah, this is rotten.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's not awful, but it's not great.
Yeah.
So this is kind of probably fairly early stages of root rot. They're not like mushy and gross, but as you can see, the roots are really quite dark, and I know they've got soil on them at the moment, but if I brush them off a little bit more, you can see even then the roots are really quite dark.
Are they mushy as well?
They're not mushy, but what they're doing is if you...
Oh, the sheaths come off.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's called, but...
They're almost like the little hair bit in the middle of the root is left exposed.
Yeah.
And you can like pull the outer bit of the root off. And that is not a sign of healthy roots either. So, I think... You're wondering about that one?
Pot.
Ooh.
I feel like the roots are a little bit too high up to put in something this size.
Shall I see if I've got another little glass container?
Can do, if you've got one.
I think I probably do. I've been hoarding lots of containers recently, so let's have a look.
Also, sorry, I'm making really terrible faces when I get up because my knee is still messed up.
Oh no.
And so I can't kneel on my right knee.
Kneel.
I fell over when I was running and I bruised my knee quite badly.
Not today.
No, not today. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Doo-doo. And so I still can't kneel on my right knee, and it's been like 2 weeks.
Ouch. Yeah, we were talking about this last night, and I said to Emma, I was like, I think you should probably go to the doctor if that hasn't sorted itself out soon, because it was a hell of a fall you took by the looks of it.
Yeah, it wasn't pleasant. And it was really embarrassing as well. Like, people saw me.
Oh.
People saw me. I was running up some steps and people saw me literally go poof.
Oh, that's horrible.
And like, I had my headphones in because I was listening to music, and I don't think I heard anyone say like, oh, are you okay or anything? And then I realised I was probably just lying there, like, looking like an absolute idiot, for one, and also ignoring them completely when they were trying to help me.
Oh,
and
it's such a horrible... Oh, God,
I was embarrassed more than anything else.
I mean, it shouldn't be embarrassing. It's something that everybody does from time to time, but...
Yeah, like, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I just felt like, oh, of course I've fallen over.
Emma, what would you do here? Because I think I'd chop this plant up.
I need to feel the roots in order to know.
I feel like... I don't think any of them are
they look quite dry. And I feel like if you then put them in soil and watered it the correct amount, they would rot.
See, I think this is probably what's happened here. I think this plant has been allowed to dry out for way too long, and then it's been watered through, and that's what's caused the root rot.
Chopsies and propsies.
I think it's a chop and prop job.
Chop and prop job. Yeah, because all of these smaller roots, they're just like coming away.
Yeah. Okie doke. Cool. This plant is being chopped up.
Sorry, Ross.
Sorry, Ross.
It's either that or it's dying, so I feel like this is probably a better choice.
Yeah. What's your favourite succulents / cacti? Oh, in fact, I skipped a question. We'll go back to that one in a minute. What are your favourite succulents / cacti in your collections?
I'm really obsessed with my variegated euphorbia. It's also my favourite cacti in your, or succulent in your collection.
Yeah, it is a lovely one. My normal euphorbia is probably my favourite.
I also love the blue myrtilla that you gave me.
Yes, I'm so glad you love that one.
Doing so well.
Yay, I mean, you've cabineted that one, haven't you?
Oh yeah. My little cactus cabinet.
I love that idea, and yeah, it's doing amazingly in your care because I was not paying that plant enough attention.
I mean, I don't pay any attention either. It's just in a bright area in, actually, semi-hydro.
I was going to say, you've been growing some without the reservoir, just watering them through. Normally, you've been doing that for a while now, haven't you?
Nearly a year, because we potted them up in December.
Is that a whole year ago?
Yeah, so I started growing cacti and succulents a year ago now, which is crazy.
Isn't it?
That's why I rewarded myself with the euphorbia, because I was like, I deserve it.
I think you do.
But essentially, what you can do, instead of having a water reservoir like all of these plants will have, in like no drainage or in that cash pot, you would put them in the semi-hydro with drainage holes, not in something like a glass jar. And every month or so, I think I try and do it around like the first of the month, because then that's a good way for me to remember. I will then water those through, let them drain through, or sit them in a reservoir for like half an hour, let them soak up.
That's a really good idea.
And then take them out, let them drain.
Yeah.
Then put them back away.
Nice.
And it's worked for the past year now,
yeah,
so...
that's brilliant. I was going to say, I know some succulents are thirstier than others. So, like cacti, I feel like that's perfect, but I've got some succulents that are so thirsty. There
are some that would need, that I think I have in my collection, that would probably prefer getting watered more frequently.
Yeah.
But at that point, I would... Because this is where I get lazy. I'm like, I'm going to do all of them at once, whether they want it or not. Is it the best thing? Probably not, but...
Oh, he's all chopped up.
But it's okay, they'll root.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I've chopped back all the aerial roots as well, just because they were dry and a little bit rotty. Again, I think I'm going to sphagnum moss them. But the question that I just accidentally skipped, that I think is a really fun question, is which plant would you steal from each other's collections? I think I know which one I'd steal from yours. I think.
Oh, what is it?
There's a few.
What is it?
Your fat boy. Your fat boy, not a fat boy.
My Melaloni.
Yes.
My fat boy, but not fat boy, yeah.
We'll put a picture on the screen because, oh my god, it's such a beauty.
Yes.
It's a Melaloni.
Melaloni.
I thought it was a...
Marshmallow?
No, I knew it was not a Martian, but I thought maybe it was a Congo.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I believe it's a Melaloni. I was sold it as a fat boy, which is a Martianum, but it's not a Martianum. This was like literally 2020 when I got it, like COVID times.
It's the nicest plant. I love it.
I do love it. And like, it sounds really bad, but I kind of like that not many people have it.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of like you with your Nestii.
I was going to say it's a cool thing. Like, it doesn't have to be like a rare plant, but it's just quite fun sometimes to have and be like, no one else knows how cool this is.
Yeah, like, I have it and I love it, and nobody else has it.
Yeah.
That I know. It did start to put out a tiny little baby the other day. Ooh. And I was thinking, if that got big enough for me to cut it up, I was going to give it to you. But... it hasn't. I had to repot it, and I think it got knocked off in the repot. Because it was literally like this big on my plant that's like this big.
Oh my god! So, I was going to say your plant is huge.
It takes up a lot of space. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
It is a space sucker.
Space sucker.
Space sucker.
You finished it.
Answer your question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I want your Splendid.
Yeah.
I really... I've got like a bunch of tiny little baby splendid cuttings where the leaves are all like this big, and I'm like, I want that one.
Yeah, no, it's pretty. I do love my splendid.
So nice. I wish it grew that big. Or your Portadora. I love your Portadora. The bit that you gave me died.
I know, I was going to say that
rotted,
didn't it?
Quite quickly, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's one that is just very susceptible to, I mean, alocasia with the...
It was like a big chunk. It didn't have any leaves on it or anything.
A rhizome like that big.
It was this big.
Was it?
Yeah, it was this big rather than this big. It wasn't your big one.
Oh.
You have your big one.
But I gave a big one to Sarah as well. I thought I gave...
No, I had a smaller one.
But what I was going to say is there are lots of other questions that have come through, but I feel like because we started answering them quite late in this video, we haven't got through all of them, which means we're going to have to get together again soon to do another video.
We can do that.
Because it's fun, because we haven't filmed together in ages.
No, it's been so long.
Yeah, it's been lovely. And we've like whizzed through what would usually take me like an hour and a half to get through, so it's fabulous. I thought this would be like enough to keep us going, but we've
done it.
Very good progress.
I mean, I'm like, bam, bam, bam. I need to get it done.
Like, you're so scarily efficient. We were saying this as well before. I was like, and I completely understand that like washing the pots out and washing the roots is a good thing to do. It is a good thing to do.
Highly recommend.
But you're so vigilant with your plant care in terms of like the neat, like, I'm like, I don't measure my moss poles, and like everything you do is just very... I wish I could be... Yeah, but I wish I could be a bit more like that, because I do think I'm just a little bit haphazard sometimes with my approach to
There's
things.
pros and cons to all of it, because when I can't be anal, like I said, I'm mentally unwell. No, I'm fine. Don't worry. I'm good. I'm good. I'm all good. I'm all good. Yeah, I'm all good.
But yeah, we hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for joining us. And if you did enjoy it, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Bye!
Stay sexy, plant lovers.